Des Moines, and all of Central Iowa, welcome to Mac's World Live. Mac's World is your world. Every day we talk about the issues and topics that matter most to you. And as always, it's your voice we want to hear in Mac's World. So join the conversation by calling 515-244-0077. And now, here's the host of Mac's World Live, J. Michael McCoy.
It's 6 minutes after the hour of 4 o'clock on this 23rd day of November in the Lord's year 2015. I'm J. Michael McCoy, and this is Mac's World on laryngitis. I appreciate you listening. I'm not sick. I don't feel sick. I've just got a terrible cough, and I've lost most of my voice. And I have some incredible shows this week that I'm not going to miss. Wednesday is the one that I'm really looking forward to. Tomorrow's going to be good, too. Will Rogers and Tom Coates will be here. But also on Wednesday, we've got Tom and Kay Deerdorf, who adopted two Russian girls, twins, I think they are, years ago out of Russia, and what it's like now to live in America, and truly a wonderful Thanksgiving show as we approach the Thanksgiving holiday. Now, if you somehow made it through the big snowstorm event last Friday and Saturday, I'm proud of you. You're going to get another chance. Unfortunately, it's going to be on a big travel day, and it's this coming Thursday. So they're expecting more bad weather, more snow on this Thursday for traveling for Thanksgiving.
I hope it's not snow. I hope it's rain.
Really?
I think it's going to be warm. I think it's going to be like in the 40s and 50s.
Well, rain would be fine. I'm okay. I'd rather have rain too.
Well, I'm a new Iowan, so as long as this rain isn't instantly followed by sub-freezing temperatures and that turns to ice, because where I'm from in the South, and once winter hits, when it rains, it destroys everything because ice is terrible. I love snow. Ice, not a fan. Yeah. Not a fan of ice.
You're talking about Texas.
I'm talking about Texas. Yeah, I mean, in the winter, all they get up there is ice storms, and it's down there. And it's bad. Yeah. Ice storms are terrible, and right. You cannot drive on ice.
Well, my daughter lives in Texas, and if they get like a quarter inch of snow, they shut schools down and they shut everything down, and people buy tons of food.
You know what? You can make fun of Texans all you want, but Friday, what was up with Iowa? The entire central Iowa area shut down like it was the coming apocalypse. All kinds of school events were closed, early release days at school, people were running to. This is Iowa, y'all.
Well, look at how many people showed up at the family leadership thing.
And there were a lot of people
There
that
were
showed
a lot
up.
of people.
There were a lot of people that showed up, but I mean in terms of everybody shuts everything down. There were all these school events, all this different stuff canceled.
Did you get a number on how many showed up?
You know what? I really didn't. We should text Bob. I can find out, though. Before the shows up.
I thought it was about 1,500 or so.
It was a cool turnout.
1,500 was their goal.
Oh, they had a bunch of people. I didn't think so because we hung around.
Was the floor full?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, then they had over 1,500.
Yeah. It was a really neat event. I will tell you, I'm sure that everyone was there, got a real chuckle. I think there were a lot of protests, and the protests, honestly, were very hilarious to me. Yeah. One of them was scary. Dave Davidson, the photographer, he was really close to the very first one with the flag. He said that was a really frightening moment because he was right next to the guy when he just uproared. But the second wave of protests were comical to me because of what they were protesting. Okay, they were at the Presidential Family Forum. You've got people running for president to hopefully be the Republican nomination for president of the United States, and these, God bless them, just college-age kids stand up and shout, "It's not food, it's violence. It's not food, it's violence." Vegetarians.
It's not food.
It's not food, it's violence.
Oh, so it was about killing
It was
animals.
about killing animals. And they had pictures. It's your puppy and blah, 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 blah. I'm like, seriously, like this is a burning issue in America right now that we must disrupt something.
I couldn't hear them. I didn't know what they were yelling.
Well, we were outside, right, still getting set up for the Steve Day show. Yeah. So I was outside of the room. So I could hear them as they were shouting this stuff coming out. Like, is really meat eating... This is like the Bernie Sanders stuff.
Those are the low information voters.
Climate change is what's causing terrorism. Yeah. Eating meat is what's destroying America. Our economic policy is going under because people are eating cows. It's not food, it's violence. They were so enraged they must disrespectfully disrupt an event.
Yeah.
What did they think they were going to accomplish? Did we all go, oh, you're right, I'm not going to rush downstairs and get that hot dog now?
Yeah. Well, they had a very tight security there.
Yeah.
Were they allowed in with these protest signs and these flags?
No. Well, now the flag, I don't know how they did, but
They must have had it under their clothes.
They must have had it under their clothes, and they had to buy tickets. Although I will say what was interesting is after the thing got started, you had to go through metal detectors.
Yeah.
Right.
But there were no more tickets being sold. There were a couple of people I know personally who just showed up and they're like, there was no one to buy a ticket from. They just walked in.
Oh.
So it could have, but all these protests were pretty early on. In fact, Mac, during one of the early protesters were people that were near our booth at the very beginning. Because I remember when we were doing our show live, they were just standing around. When they got escorted out, I was like, I remember those people. They were there really early.
Now the first ones they were protesting about deportation or something.
Right. The first one was about deportation, which is topical. It's relevant.
Yeah.
But you know what? The big deportation guy wasn't there, frankly.
Right.
And immigration really, I will say, and Dace mentioned this, one of the things that really wasn't addressed at the Presidential Family Forum Friday was immigration. It really wasn't talked about.
Right.
And Trump, I think, said, I'm hearsaying now, I believe that Trump was saying that if I'm not there, no one's going to talk about it because Trump was the guy who's talking about immigration. And he was frankly right. It really didn't come up because it's really not a big platform issue for a lot of the other people. It's a big deal to Trump, but it doesn't seem like it's as big a deal to a lot of the people. It's not the thing they're shouting about.
No, and I don't think the leadership forum at that time was really pushing a lot of issues as much as what do these candidates really believe about, what are they, who are they?
Yeah.
And talk about themselves and what they believe and that kind of thing.
It really was. Kim Pearson, who sat in with the Steve Deace show, she made the comment that it was a lot of that childhood. How did you feel growing up? What was it like to be a kid in your home? And it was a lot of those kinds of questions, which are interesting. They're heart issues. They're probing stuff. But I think that's another reason why Trump didn't show up. I can't imagine Trump going, well, when I was a kid, I just don't imagine him telling that story. I just don't think he cares about that stuff.
I still wish I could get the truth of why he wasn't there.
We may never know. We did look it up. He was supposed to be on ABC, but that was pre-taped.
Was pre-recorded. That was Barbara Walters 2020.
I really think my opinion, I think, really is it's the subject matter. It's really not his. It's not his wheelhouse, man. He's really not trying to reach out to the evangelical base, and that really was the Family Leaders are a great organization. But most of us who are supporters or care about what the Family Leader is doing happen to be evangelicals, and I just think Trump wants our vote, but I don't think he's gonna. I don't want to use that word.
He's not comfortable in that setting.
He's not comfortable in that setting. I mean, you heard Sam Clovis in here.
Yeah. Do you think that Donald Trump is okay losing Iowa? Do you think he, this is very anti-political now because the politics of Iowa are very strong, that you need to have an appearance in Iowa or you'll go away at the win.
You were the one, it was, believe it or not, this was really funny. My nephew, who's not even, he's 12, told me this. This was the weekend before. He said, Uncle Chris, the last however many caucuses, the Republican nominee that won the caucus in Iowa didn't go on to win the nomination. This is my 12-year-old nephew telling me this. And I was like, is that right? His dad's really kind of into all this stuff. And then you kind of mentioned that on the broadcast Friday.
Yeah.
Have we, Ron Carlson, the production manager here at 99.3, and I were talking about that this morning. Are we, the conservatives in Iowa, are we out of sync with the rest of the state? Is that what's going on? Are we not?
Country.
With the rest of the country. Thank you, guys. Are we out of step?
I think that we are. It's really funny because Iowa is a very liberal state. We have massive casinos, more per capita than Nevada. We were, the third nation or the third state in the nation to approve gay marriage.
Right.
But yet, the other side seems to be just as vocal. So it's like we're neither liberal or conservative. We're both.
Right.
And there's not much middle ground. There's not a lot of people in Iowa go where, I don't care. It's no big deal to me.
Now, you need to also know that Frank Luntz gave Iowa quite a big compliment right in the beginning. Do you remember that, Chris?
That?
I didn't hear it. That was one of the ones I didn't hear. I've seen some. What did he say?
Well, he basically said that he is a pollster and he's been to all 50 states and he's polled many people all across the country. But Iowa, basically what he said was, we are the ones most interested, have the best questions, and are very good at vetting candidates.
No, and that I agree with Frank 100%. I have been wildly impressed. I have grown just by being around the men and women, our listeners, especially 99.3 listeners I get to interact with a lot. They have impressed me so much how astute they are. They're asking much better questions, are much more into the details. And I think Mac hit the nail on the head. I think here in Iowa, we're both extremes. You have people that are on the left that are wildly on the left. And I think you have people that are on the right that are so far on the right. We don't have the mainstay conservative Republican mass. I mean, there are sort of mainline Republican people that, are, I don't want to say moderates, but maybe moderates. We do have those folks here in the state, but they're just not a big percentage anymore.
See, I believe, and I know you guys know this, but to vote in the primaries, you have to be registered one place or the other. Mm-hmm. So you can't be an independent. If I was allowed to be an independent in this state, I would not be a Republican. I would not be a Democrat. I would be independent. And I think that's the backbone of why the Iowa caucuses are so powerful. We really are open-minded.
Yeah.
We really are willing to look. All right. I'll give you the forecast and what we can expect later this week since we started out that way. By the way, Jill King at King's Christian Bookstore is throwing a $25 retirement gift certificate into the golden parachute that
Thanks, Jill.
I'm building. She's wonderful. All right, we're coming back here live on The Truth.
Credit cards are like grandkids. They love you, sometimes get out of control, and it's fun to get a new one. Who can stop them from piling on?
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of Des Moines. At the end of the day, you can return the grandkids, but you're stuck paying off bad credit card debt. We'll help you put the fun back into using credit cards responsibly. Right, kids?
Yeah! If you need help getting credit cards off your back, call Consumer Credit of Des Moines.
Hi, my name is David Burrier, your Hope Coach. I host a live weekly talk show called I've Been There every Thursday afternoon at 5:30, right here on webcast1live.com, and on my weekly radio program Saturday mornings at 10 on Truth Network 99.3 FM. I interview common everyday people who have survived incredible life challenges and who testify to God's faithfulness in the midst of their storms. So join me as we bring a message of hope and encouragement. Everybody needs hope. I know, because I've been there.
Rock and Prevention is celebrating 25 years of creating a caring community. We want to say thank you to the tens of thousands of Rock High School mentors that have carried our message of health, love, and encouragement to over 1.5 million children, teachers, and parents. Our mentors teach children methods and skills to prevent bullying and drug use. Thank you to all the school administrators, teachers, and counselors for their opportunity to serve you. Rock on, fair citizens, rock on! This is Pat McManus for Rock and Prevention, the Richard O. Jacobson Foundation, and this station.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
All right. Welcome back. 21 minutes after the hour on this 23rd day of November. Can you believe this week? Guys, Christmas is 4 weeks from this week.
I'm excited, man. I'm that guy. I love Christmas. I absolutely love it.
Well, you're a kid.
Love it. I am a kid. I'm a kid, and you know what I love? And R.C. Sproul agreed with me. I'm just kidding. I agree with something R.C. Sproul said. You know what I love about Christmas? On secular radio, people sing about Jesus. How cool is that? I mean, you know, I've been in Christian broadcasting for over a decade, and I talk about Jesus, and I can say Jesus is the only way, and we can preach the gospel here unashamedly. But it's really cool that music station has flipped over now, and they're playing Christmas music. I mean, no matter how much the low information voter wants to say this isn't a Christian nation, and Christianity's so offensive, and you can't say Merry Christmas, and you can't say Jesus, baloney. This is the time of the year where you just can't hide it. No matter how much the left and the low information voter and the PC police want to shut it down, you can't get rid of it, man. This is a cool time of year. The whole Western world is celebrating Jesus. I mean, the atheist has to be pissed. This is a reminder that they're wrong. They're just wrong. They're losing. I'm sorry. But that's not why I get excited. It's also really fun. I like giving gifts. I like getting gifts. I like decorating trees. I like Christmas music.
You like families getting together?
I love families getting together. I travel. I like traveling.
Are you going to Texas, do you think?
I will. Okay. I'll go to Texas.
I gave Ryan his first, but not his last Christmas present today.
Are you going to get him 12?
I'm going to get him something. But Ryan, our producer, wears these bizarre socks.
Yeah.
And the more bizarre they are, the more he lights up.
Yep.
So I'm in a store just killing time on Saturday, and what do I come across? Christmas socks.
Nice.
So I bought him 2 pairs so far.
Do you
like them? He likes them.
He's wearing them.
I'm going to get him an ugly Christmas sweater, too.
I love that. That is a cool trend right now. The ugly Christmas sweater. I vote yes.
Well, we have not that I want to advertise them all, but they actually have an ugly sweater store that opened up, I think, last Friday or Saturday. And they'll be open now for the next month. Ugly sweater.
Do you think they got some that would fit a big guy like me?
Of course.
Awesome.
If not, we could buy 2 and sew them together.
There you go. Ooh, that'd be double ugly. We could do like half one and half the other thing.
All right. As you plan your travel for Thanksgiving, I want you to closely watch over the next developing snowstorm headed for Iowa.
Don't say that.
National Weather Service forecasters say we can expect a brief period of a wintry mix on Thursday before it changes to all snow on Thursday night. Rain will slowly transition to snow in the west and northwestern counties of the state during the late morning or early afternoon hours. So this is on Thursday. Central and southeastern communities like ours will see the transition during the evening hours and then overnight into Friday. They're talking about snow and ice accumulations appear light. There's a 70% chance of precipitation. At this point, forecast models show Des Moines Metro can expect to see light rain followed by snow after midnight. Highs on Thursday will be in the 50s, like Bob said, and then back down into the 30s for Black Friday. Now, speaking of Black Friday, do you do that or does your wife do that?
I believe that all Fridays matter. Oh, I'm sorry. No, our big, that's a dumb joke. I'm sorry. Too soon, roll off, too soon. We're Cyber Monday people. My wife and I, we don't like crowds.
That's today.
No, isn't Cyber Monday the Monday after Black Friday?
Oh, okay. Yeah, all right.
Yeah, Cyber Monday is the online equivalent to the Black Friday thing. I like being able to, sip coffee in my PJs and buy lots of stuff.
So I'm looking for something for you this year, and I'm trying to find something in the game area because you like games. Mm-hmm. My fear is that you're the game guy that has every game that exists.
You know what? I will disclose something to you. A lot of people that like getting me gifts often have that fear. Here's the fascinating thing about the board game industry. If you go to a board game store, there's a few in the area. Mayhem Comics is a place. But anyway, if you go to a board game store, let me give you an idea of how many games come out every year. Essen in October. Essen, Germany is a town in Germany. They have a board game convention every year. That's the biggest one internationally. It's absolutely huge. Almost 1,000 new board games were released just this year. That happens almost every year at one international event. So there's 1,000 new games every year that are released. The likelihood that you're going to get me something that I have is pretty low.
Okay, but you missed something here, Mr. Roloff.
Did I miss something?
Yeah, I shop at Goodwill.
Oh, you shop at Goodwill? No, don't buy me anything at Goodwill.
So those games are like Chutes and Ladders.
I got that.
You got Monopoly.
Yeah, I got that.
Do you have chess?
Got that.
Checkers?
Mm-hmm.
Chinese checkers?
Yep.
Go Fish?
Yep.
Where's
Yahtzee.
Waldo?
Yep. Trivial Pursuit. Yahtzee. Don't have the Trump game, although it's gone up in price. You know, just within the last 6 months, I could have got it at Goodwill for $1. You can't find them anymore, and Half Price Books here in Des Moines has the Trump board game, and they're selling it for $50. And I will tell you, as a guy whose hobby is board games, it's a terrible game.
Yeah.
I think you got to go to a different country and pick up a game.
That's what you should do. Is you should fly to to Germany and get me something over there. At a secondhand store in Germany, it would be good.
Well, why don't I just call them and have them ship it to me?
You can do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
If I talk to your wife, would she know some specific WoW games that you'd like?
She would. She'd probably just ask me.
Oh, I'm not going to do that.
And it doesn't matter. He'd have to read the instructions in a different language, and that'll be the fun.
That would be the fun. Yeah. I'm a dork. I like reading game rules. This is weird. This is way too revealing. You did this to me the other time when we talked about procrastination. I don't like sharing too much about myself, and you're getting me. Now people know I like board games.
So what? They already knew you were a fuddy-dud. You're just proving it.
That's true. That's true.
All right. Hector Avalos is I've had him on my radio show several times. He is the professor of religion at the Iowa State University. And even though we don't think of Iowa State as a bastion of liberalism, the fact of the matter is that Hector Avalos is an atheist, and he teaches religion. Now, I really can argue both ways for that. I guess I can. Better, I guess, to be a atheist than to be a Christian, because then he's probably not going to really teach religion the way it should be taught. I don't know.
He's an equal opportunity bigot when it comes to religion. So in other words, he and I don't mean that derogatorily. I mean he's opposed to all religions he thinks are bad equally. So he's knowledgeable about them to a degree and is willing to just kind of expose their history and things like that they've done. Why he is anti it, I don't completely understand. I mentioned Carl Sagan in the break. Carl Sagan had no particular faith, but he thought that faith and belief in a higher something is a part of the human experience.
I can tell you, his family growing up in the Colombia Latino life, his dad and grandfather were both evangelists, Christian evangelists. Did you know this? Mm-hmm. He was too when he was young.
Right, yeah.
And then something horrible happened, and he blamed God, and he decided to spend the rest of his life blaming God and hating God. He's very, very much like the professor in the
God is not dead.
Yeah, very much like that professor.
Yeah, and I would just put a 2 cents in for those of us who are in the central Iowa area, most people listening, I would assume, to remember to pray for Hector. A good friend of mine who lived in Ames a long, long time, has said, Christians attack Hector a lot, and I think that just makes him hate us all the more. I don't think it wins anything when we attack him. I would hope that Hector would repent and come back to Jesus, but I don't know how to do that.
Okay, so I'm glad that you just said that, and that's your role. And you can be that type of disciple for Christ. I, on the other hand, think he's the devil incarnate. I've had him on my show several times over the years. He runs the Iowa State Free Thinkers and Atheists group.
He started the Atheist and Agnostic Association, I believe, on the campus. Yeah,
and I've only met about 1 or 2 people out of that group that were worth a darn. Chris John, one of them. I like him, but most of those people are just
they're angry.
They're angry. They are very, very angry. And Hector feeds that anger. So I'm going to wish for bad things to happen to him. You pray for good. Your God's bigger than mine, because my God wants me to pray for him too, I'm sure. But you see, that's not the role I'm here to play. I am not going to be that guy that sits on the sidelines and goes, let's just love our enemies and pray for them all. Oh, I know that I do that, and I will do that. But that's not the role I came to play. God brought me to put the sword on, the armor of God on, and go kick some whoppee. All right. Excuse me.
With all that in mind,
the headline on the 7th day of November at the Ames Tribune, under immigration, Trump's Thanksgiving plate is already full. And this is written by Hector Avalos. With Thanksgiving almost upon us, it may be a good time to serve up a plate of parody and think about how American Indians might view Donald Trump's call to deport all illegal immigrants. Fortunately, one of my time-traveling ancestors appeared to me in a dream and dictated a message to Mr. Trump that I dutifully wrote down below. Dear Mr. Trump, I completely agree that we should deport all illegal immigrants. However, your numbers are much too low. You estimated somewhere around 11 to 12 million illegals. I calculate the existence of over 300 million illegals, and mostly from Europe. When the Mayflower landed unexpectedly in what you call Massachusetts, we were somewhat curious and apprehensive, but we assisted those immigrants with food and other necessities. You now call for that sort of help to immigrants a wasteful social program. We assisted those immigrants even after some of them stole our food supplies. In Bradford's history of Plymouth Plantation, you will see that the author admits that they, quote unquote, toked with them, partay of the corn, and buried up the rest, so they, like the men from Eshel, carried with them of the fruits of the land and showed their brethren. Boy, this guy doesn't write worth a crap either, does he? That reference is from Numbers 13:24 and shows how often your Bible was used to justify these activities. These European Christians saw Indians, the Native American Indians, as biblical Canaanites who could be plundered and conquered. You have a town now called New Canaan, Connecticut, to make my point. All right, so he goes on and on and on and on to try to make the point that we destroyed the American Indian culture when we came here and took over this country. Therefore, if we're going to throw out all the illegal immigrants, that would be us. There's just one problem with this, Hector. It wasn't illegal when we came here. See, we're grandfathered in. We weren't breaking any laws back in 1492. We weren't breaking any laws when we built plantations in the 14th and 15th century. Today, they are breaking laws. And Mr. Avalos, you don't seem to recognize these laws. You, much like your president, who I'm sure you voted for 5 or 6 times, think that these laws, what we call the Constitution, and these laws that oversee this great state, city, and land of ours, are made to be followed, not ignored. Followed all the time, not just when it's inconvenient for you. Mr. Avalos, I wish you a very, very happy Thanksgiving. Please don't choke on the turkey bone. Never mind. Go ahead and choke.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
I'm Brian Leach, owner of Service Legends, and my position is Chief Talent Officer.
I'm Nicholas Wonderscheid.
I am Bernie Hobbs.
And I'm the Service Manager.
Marketing Director and Client Relations Manager.
Everything that we do is about ensuring that we exceed your expectations.
Our clients are important to us. 100% satisfaction.
We're not just focused on heating and cooling. That's the easiest part of our job, actually, is fixing furnaces and air conditioners.
Everyone that we come in touch with, we want to improve lives.
Bottom line is, we've got our installation guarantees, 25% energy savings guarantee, comfort guarantee, temperature selection guarantee, property protection guarantee.
100% satisfaction guaranteed. Fixed rate or it's free.
All of those guarantees are backed up with a 100% money back guarantee to hold ourselves accountable to making sure that you get what you're after.
Just fixing the problem today. If they have another problem 5 days down the road, It's still fixed right or it's free.
We use what's called straightforward pricing. Our technicians are going to give you an exact to-the-penny price on what it's going to take before they move forward with any repair. That way you know what to expect.
It's the same price every day.
No surprises.
If you get off work at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, you come home, you realize that, oh, my furnace is broken. Now you need to call somebody out that night. You shouldn't have to pay more for that.
We're guaranteeing service 24/7.
We run afternoons, evenings, nights, weekends. We're staffed to work that.
Phone rings at 3 in the morning. You'll get one of our representatives answering the phone every time.
We're not sending you out to Timbuktu in some call center. It's our Service Legend team members, our mission control team.
I'll take a call anytime.
And then they answer the phones the same way during the day as they do at night.
It's a great day at your service company. How can we make you smile?
That's the only way to provide true 24-hour service.
When you're able to let somebody actually live in their home safely when they weren't able to do that before, where they don't have to stay up at night and worry about, is the heat going to come back on? Are we going to freeze the pipes? Is the baby in the room next door going to be sick because they got too cold? When you're able to help somebody overcome challenges like that, that's impacting a life. That makes a difference. I get goosebumps thinking about it.
I love the team. I love the people that I work with.
We have fun, but we work hard.
I call them my ambassadors of legendary service. If you could just envision what that is, that's who we're sending to your home.
They literally will call in, pick up the phone and call and say, hey, I want to talk to your manager. And I get on the phone, they're like, that technician that was at my house was the greatest technician ever. That's cool to me.
We want to brighten people's days.
Every person that we have going into the house has gone through an extensive background check.
Drug testing, we have a very thorough interview process that 1 out of 140 people make it through.
If we promise you something, that's what you're going to get, no matter what.
We're here when you need us to protect the safety and comfort of your family.
If you're not happy, we're going to make it right.
If we're willing to put 100% money-back guarantee on what we do, what type of work do you think we do?
Give us a call. We're there for you 24/7, 365 days a year.
Enough said.
Good afternoon. You're listening to the Truth Network on 99.3 FM. This is Chris Roloff. J. Michael McCoy is in the house. Bob Montserrat, the cat in the hat, watching the chat, and Ryan is producing. We are so happy that you're here with us on a Monday afternoon, probably driving home, enjoying the now dry roads that we did not have Friday. In the beginning of our segment, Bob, we were talking about this article here that Hector Avalos wrote, poking fun, frankly, at the notion that we should be deporting, or Donald Trump's comments that we should be deporting the illegal immigrants in our country. And he did it by way of parody, pretending that he had received a letter from the Native American folks who experienced what they believed to be an illegal immigration of all these Western Europeans who came and took over their land. And Mac, I really wanted to echo something you said in the first segment, and that is that this country, or this land, at that time when the Europeans did come here and take over, and yes, they did take over this land. When they did that, you pointed out that they didn't violate any law. You had a tribal people who had a self-governance, I guess, as tribes tend to do, but they didn't have an established law that was being violated. They weren't a country with borders in the way that we're a country with borders now that has established laws and a constitution and things like that. The idea of violating law requires that there, in fact, was a law to violate. And I think that's a good point that you make in these kinds of emotionally driven arguments. Hector Avalos is fantastic at creating emotional rhetoric that appeals to us on an emotional
hate.
Well, but he appeals to us on an emotional level. He makes us think, you know what, you're right. That wasn't very fair when all those Western Europeans came in here and destroyed this country and took it from the Native Americans. That was just wrong, and that was bad, and that was evil and terrible. And it's emotionally, you can relate to that. You can feel things on that. But again, that's not comparing apples to apples. That's comparing bananas to kiwi fruit. We're not comparing the two things that are the same here.
And you got to remember, too, that the Native American had its own enemies. They were not a united nation among tribes.
Sure. Tribal people never are.
Yeah.
Generally speaking. I mean, yeah.
Are you able to play back a message on our phone?
I would be, not very smoothly, but I can get it done. You got one?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll get to it.
Can we just put it here and put it back?
We'll get it. How soon do you need it? Right now?
Yeah.
If you give me a minute, I can figure out how to do it well.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right.
The thing with Hector Avalos is so essential to know that when your child, who's a freshman at college, says, look, Mom, look, Dad, I'm taking religious studies, and you go, oh, good. Not all will be lost when they go to college.
No.
Because research after research after research tells us that even if you bring your child up in the ways of the Lord, when they leave and go to college, unless they go to a Christian college, most colleges are very liberal, and they're probably, unfortunately, going to be pulled away from what Mom and Dad taught them from the not only in the home but in the pulpit.
You mean brainwashed?
Yeah, I like that. All right, we have a guest on the phone. Frank. Is it our Frank? Oh, what does he want? I thought I got a day without Frank. Frank, I don't even know if you work here. You had a no-show today. You didn't even call in and tell me you weren't going to be here.
You wouldn't be so lucky to get rid of me.
You just didn't show up for work.
I was told Bob I wasn't sure if I'd be there or not, and to pass the message on to you.
Well, he didn't.
Oh, okay. Well, would you guys believe, or would you guys say that it was God's providence of Israel going to the Promised Land?
Yes.
Okay. So did some people get uprooted in the Promised Land that currently live there?
Yes.
Like such as the Amalekites. There was all kinds of people who lived in the Promised Land that were given an opportunity to join the worship of true Israel, the God of true Israel, or get moved. I think we'd all agree to that.
Yes.
Well, if you guys would study Revelation like you should, the United States was predicted in Bible prophecy in Revelation 13. So if we're a blessed nation, not chosen, but if we're a blessed nation, and it was God's providence that the United States be set up, what would be any different of uprooting the people that lived here if it's God's providence? So who is Hector Avalos to argue with God?
Well, he thinks he is God. So, yeah, but good point, Frank. He thinks he can ruin and destroy the minds of young people being shadowed or covered over by higher education.
Now,
and I don't fall for that.
Now, did we treat the Native Americans right? No. No, we certainly didn't treat the Native Americans right, but people are angry that think our country is basically founded on we're basically an immoral country because we were founded by moving the Native Americans out to settle here. But if it's God's providence, it's not immoral. This is where Christian and I part company is he basically thinks because God done immoral things, there cannot be no God. And Christian studies under old Hector, so I suppose Hector's got his talking points up there at ISU that basically the United States is an immoral country. And our president, Barack Obama, feels the same way. We can't destroy terrorism because we don't stand on the high ground. According to him, we have no right to destroy terrorism.
Well, now be careful, Frank, because remember, all we're supposed to do is love our enemies.
Well,
we're not supposed to call them out.
We're not supposed to have a nation and a home in which to welcome them and love them. If the terrorists destroy our home and we have no place to welcome an illegal or legal immigrant, I guess we're homeless. So we have to have sovereign borders to welcome somebody to our country. But apparently Obama and Hector Avalos don't think that.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, was Frank's comment, frankly speaking, today live here on The Truth 99.3. Frank will be with us in studio tomorrow at this regular time. Just one day without him would have been just nice. I can't even make it through a whole day without him. I'm waiting for Chris to return and play a telephone call that was just left on our answering machine. I went back to my office to grab something, and the answering machine speaker was on.
Yeah.
And a very nice, cordial young man was quite unhappy with me because I said that Hector Avalos could choke on a turkey bone. And I'd like to play it so everybody can hear what the young man said, so they don't assume what he said, that I'm not spinning what he said or what he didn't say. And I don't know if we'll get an opportunity to play that back here this afternoon or not. But to basically, he was saying I should be more salt and light rather than the other. And I don't disagree with him. But it's hard right now.
You said right now, is it?
Yeah, I told a bunch of brothers this weekend over at church. This last week was one of the hardest weeks I've had in radio in a long time because I'm so upset with this administration and now their acting upon terrorism. This went past my line. You know, they say you cross a line. This administration went past my line just after he got reelected. First 4 years, I was okay, kind of. You know, I didn't like some of the stuff, but when he got elected twice, he took the gloves off, and he's now endangering America as we know it. And maybe to say, well, I hope the guy chokes on a turkey bone, isn't the nicest thing to say. But I can also tell you, I wish I could really tell you what I think about Hector Avalos and professors who brainwash the minds of our children. Jesus called me to be a warrior for him. It tells me in Ephesians 6 how to suit up. And my sword is the Word of God. And the Word of God says Hector Avalos is evil.
Credit cards are like grandkids. They love you, sometimes get out of control, and it's fun to get a new one. Who can stop them from piling on?
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of Des Moines. At the end of the day, you can return the grandkids, but you're stuck paying off bad credit card debt. We'll help you put the fun back into using credit cards responsibly. Right, kids?
Yeah! If you need help getting credit cards off your back, call Consumer Credit of Des Moines.
Hi, my name is David Burrier, your Hope Coach. I host a live weekly talk show called I've Been There every Thursday afternoon at 5:30, right here on webcast1live.com, and on my weekly radio program Saturday mornings at 10 on Truth Network 99.3 FM. I interview common everyday people who have survived incredible life challenges and who testify to God's faithfulness in the midst of their storms. So join me as we bring a message of hope and encouragement. Everybody needs hope. I know, because I've been there.
Rockton Prevention is celebrating 25 years of creating a caring community. We want to say thank you to the tens of thousands of Rock High School mentors that have carried our message of health, love, and encouragement to over 1.5 million children, teachers, and parents. Our mentors teach children methods and skills to prevent bullying and drug use. Thank you to all the school administrators, teachers, and counselors for their opportunity to serve you. Rock on, fair citizens. Rock on. This is Pat McManus for Rockton Prevention, the Richard O. Jacobson Foundation, and this station.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
All right, let's take a few minutes here and play back a phone call that the radio station just got in complaining about me. Play that, Ryan.
Hi, I'm calling in regards to the program that's on between 3 and 5. I think it's called Max World now. I don't understand why this show is appropriate for your network, because I love the 99.3, but the things that Mac has to say in regards to I hope you choke on bone during Thanksgiving and other comments like that are not made out of Christian or brotherly love or love of any kind is just completely detrimental to the Christian witness that the station is supposed to be representing. I just really hope that Mac can find peace, can find grace, and can express that grace towards those that are not Christians, those that don't know Christ, that he can begin to be the salt on the earth, and rather than trying to rub salt in everyone's faces. Anyhow, just a concerned Christian listening to the radio station, and hope that this actually gets listened to. Thanks.
I wanted to make sure it got listened to, and the best way for me to do that, I think, is just to put it out on the air so all the listeners can hear it. And I appreciate that phone call. All right, so coming up this week on Wednesday, and this will be available by podcast, but Tom and Kay Deerdorf will be in. Tom's been on the air before, very soft-spoken, retired military fighter pilot. He wouldn't, I was going to say he wouldn't like it if I said this, but I think he'd be okay. If he was here and I said it, he'd be embarrassed. But Tom was a Top Gun. That whole movie, that was about him, okay? And when he and Kay got married, it was past a time for them to biologically have children, because I think they were both in the military. I think Kay was also. They were on a mission trip in Russia, and there were, I believe they're twins, girls, who were literally living in the wild. Now, the wild up there is frozen tundra, but they had no bathrooms. They had nothing of any society might have. They were a third world nation altogether. So they brought these little girls home, and I don't remember how old they were, but I think at the time they were like late, 9, 10, 11, something like that. They weren't babies, but I don't think they were much older. They're now, one's married and has her own baby, lives here in central Iowa. Another one lives shortly around here. They're coming for Thanksgiving, and so they're coming on the air Thursday. And I don't think there's anything cooler than to talk to people who weren't born and bred and raised in this land. Because I don't think, I know that I don't always have an accurate picture of what America is really like, okay? I can example it like this. When I fly to California to visit my parents and my sister, I'm so very, very glad I live in Iowa. I don't like California. I don't like the speed. I don't like the pace. I don't like the way people treat each other out there. When I fill up at my Casey's gas station over here, the lady behind the counter is always nice. That I don't think is always the case other places. So what I want to find out from these Deerdorf girls is, what is America really like? What's the music like? What's the culture like? What's it like being in government schools, public schools? What are the things that we don't appreciate? This is the question I want to hear the answer to. What don't we appreciate that it's just shameful we don't appreciate it? So that's going to be the show on Wednesday, and then we'll have the best of on Thursday and Friday. Now, tomorrow, if everything works out all right, Will Rogers, who is the head of the Polk County Republicans, is going to be in here with Tom Coates, and we'll have an opportunity to talk about, we've had several candidates drop out now. We've had Jindal drop out. We've had Walker drop out. We've had Perry drop out. How is this impacting the rest of the race? Carson is down again. Trump is up. Why is Trump up? Is Trump up because he's talking fairly openly about what he'd be doing with this type of terrorism looming over? And do we like that tough talk? Does that get our blood boiling so the polls go up? I don't believe in polls. It's like sausage. I know how they're made, so I don't really believe in them. After some point, though, when there's a consistency in the polls, that when something like this happens, a certain candidate goes up, and then when something like this happens, a certain candidate goes down, that is the millirhythm. Is that a term, Bob? Millirhythm? That is kind of the rhythm of pollsters. And so...
Well, it definitely affects contributions to campaigns, I think.
Big time.
And that's really what it comes down to. I mean, Jindal's real struggle was fundraising. I mean, he had to compete. And I did hear someone point this out when Steve King, who is very popular in Northwest Iowa, endorsed Ted Cruz. That was a big hit for Jindal because that Northwest Iowa was a place Jindal was gaining ground. And when our state senator, back someone else, that doesn't look good.
Well, and I always tell you that I'm not going to endorse anybody because I'm nobody you should listen to. The low information voter, and there's Republicans as well as Democrats. When King endorses Cruz, even though they were leaning towards Jindal, that support will end because they like Steve King and they're going to follow and do what Steve King does. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. I'm just saying that for me, who I tell you I think you ought to vote for is none of my business. None of my business who you should vote for. I will tell you day of caucus, after this show is over or during the show, who am I going to caucus for? And then when November comes around, I'll tell you who I voted for just because I think it's fair. But, you need the reason we're so lucky in Iowa with all these different events around here is that we get to know these people close up.
Yeah.
That they've sat in the chair you're sitting in.
Right.
Their representatives are people who sit in this studio all the time. And we do get an opportunity to know more about them than most people know. And that's kind of where my term low information voter was born out of. When Ben Carson first started coming on the scene and moving up, the things people said about him were horrible because they didn't have any information on him. They hadn't met him. They hadn't listened to him. They had been listening to the low information voter snippets, sound bites. So hopefully what we're doing on this radio station and other radio stations here in Des Moines is we're bringing you a lot of information about these candidates. So when it comes to caucus time, you can go in and with your heart and you can make the right decision. All right. I hear the noise. Man, coming up next, Hank, the Bible Answer Man. 1-888-ASK Hank. Get your calls in there and listen for him. Until then, do me a favor. Would you forgive somebody today that needs forgiveness? Because as you forgive, you shall be forgiven. I'll see you in church.